And a very good evening to you, and welcome to today's edition of Politics 101. I'm David Hines. Welcome down on Thursday evening. On we're expecting to have uh, the candidate for the leader of the DNC, Mr. Aubrey Norton, on tonight. He will join us later on in the show. So please spread the word, share the link that Politics 101 is on. I want to welcome down everyone, whether you're joining us from Guyana. We've been having some rain in Guyana. December is usually a rainy month, as we know. We have the December-January rain, and that's traditional, but it started a bit early this year. So we've been having some rain this past week in Guyana. If you're joining us from the Caribbean, Trinidad, Antigua, St. Lucia, Barbados, some of the countries where we have quite large Guyanese communities. If you're in St. Vincent, St. Kitts, I know we have some people down there. Welcome from where you are. Of course, North America, Brooklyn, New York, Washington, D.C., Maryland, Miami, those centers in the United States where quite a lot of our people tend to reside. Baltimore, which is considered part of the Washington, D.C. metropolitan area. Quite a little bit of us out in Arizona. If you're joining us from Canada, Toronto metropolitan area, or wherever you are in Canada. And of course, in Europe, those of you who are joining us from England, the UK, whether you're in London or you're outside of London, welcome down to Politics 101. And I always keep forgetting our sisters and brothers in Suriname and French Guyana, and then some people joining us from France itself, and those also are joining us from Brazil and Venezuela. Welcome down to Politics 101. Our show tonight, we're expecting Aubrey Norton to join us later on. And as you know, today has been a long day for Norton and the others. Congress was expected on Saturday. Party appointed the chief election officer in Vincent Alexander. And the reports that are coming out is that Vincent has proposed that Congress be pushed back for a week. And so Congress is he's proposing that to get everything in place, the voters list and all the logistical things, that for all those things to be in place, it would not have been ready for Saturday. So they've postponed for 1 week. That's the news that's coming out. They have agreed that next week the Congress will be put back. No, I'm not sure, because the news didn't make that distinction. Didn't make a distinction between whether the Congress will go forward on Saturday, the 11th, and the voting will be on the 18th. We're not sure whether it's the Congress that's pushed back or the voting that's pushed back. What I'm hearing is definitely that the voting is being pushed back. We'll wait and see when Aubrey comes on. He will be able to tell us exactly what is going on there. Long-awaited Congress. Long-awaited Congress. The PNC will elect a new leader, and so everyone is waiting to see the outcome of that. There have been lots of discussion as to who the leader should be. The base of the party has its own view on who the leader should be. The rank and file of the party has its own view of who the leader should be. Even those who don't belong to the PNC, and that's part of the opposition, they have their own view of who the leader should be. And believe it or leave it, the PNC, the PPP folks, they have their own view on who the leader should be, because they would like a leader that will fit in with their agenda. So they're rooting for a sort of a particular kind of leader. They've accused us on this program and other programs, Mark Benchop and Kadaki Amsterdam, Burke, and Sherrod Duncan. They've accused us of trying to influence the race. And, the PPP saying we are trying to push the PNC to elect a radical leader. And in that regard, we are trying to influence the race. So they say. So everyone seemed to have a stake in this race. Why? Why? Because the PNC is one of the two major political parties in the country. And what happens in the PNC has tremendous impact on what happens in the country. It is popularly felt that the fact that the PNC is not as organized as it should be, that the PPP has been taking advantage of that situation. And so the view is that the sooner the PNC sort out its leadership problems, then the sooner the PPP can be brought under some check. And so there's a lot of interest in the race. Many people in the grassroots and the rank and file in the party seem to favor Aubrey Norton. Aubrey Norton, he's said to be the front runner, and all eyes are on him. We know that the leader is going to be elected by the delegates to the Congress, the delegates, and not necessarily, well, not necessarily, but the delegates are not the membership, the larger membership, but the larger membership sends the delegates to Congress with instructions. Whether the delegates will follow the instructions of their members is yet to be seen. We shall wait and see. But I think we have all agreed that whoever becomes the leader will determine the attitude to the PPP, will determine the kind of opposition to the PPP. We've had Aubrey Norton on this show several times. In fact, he announced his candidacy on this show. And he was very clear about what he wants to do. He wants to rebuild the party groups. He wants to make the party financially viable. And he wants to apply pressure on the PPP. One of the things he said is that he will campaign vigorously for a new voters list as a bottom line for elections. So he has put forward a program of overhaul and reform of the PNC. How far he will go, one does not know. Richard Van West Charles also has been on this program. We had a town hall style meeting for him also. And here he has laid out his program. I forgot to mention as part of Aubrey's reform would be the resuscitation of the APNU, which for all intents and purposes is asleep. Some people will say it's dead. Aubrey plans to resuscitate that. Dr. Richard Van West Charles also talks about rebuilding the party groups. He has been less forthcoming about how he will confront the PPP. Will he take a radical approach to dealing with the PPP? He was not clear on that. But he certainly wants to rebuild the party. He wants to rebuild the coalition, meaning the APNU. So we know that. Basil Williams was on last week. He didn't lay out a comprehensive program like the other two. He didn't lay out a comprehensive program. He said he wouldn't take his people to the streets. So there wasn't much there to go on. Joe Harmon has not come on to our program. We have asked him several times, and he has not come on. So we have to conclude that it has been a calculated, strategic move on Harmon's part not to come on to the program. He has promised, and then he has, said no, then he said, I will come, and he hasn't come. So we don't know, from Politics 101 standpoint, what Harmon's agenda is. We don't know. So if you look at the four candidates, I think we have a good sense of where Aubrey Norton will take the party. Because we have to talk about the party first. Some people want him to talk about the country, but to talk about the party. We have a good sense of where Aubrey wants to take the party, a fairly good sense of where Van West Charles wants to take the party. As I said, Harmon has not come onto our program. So as far as we are concerned, in the Politics 101 family, we don't have a sense of where he would like to take the party. So that's the lay of the land. Like we said, Basil Williams was on. He didn't give us much to work with. And so we can't make a determination here. This program, of course, is an independent program. The host is from another party. And so we are not backing. As they say, we don't have a horse in the race. We are trying to bring you as much information as possible without taking a position. But you, the members of our audience, are free to back whichever candidate you would like. There's some thorny issues. One, if Aubrey Norton were to win, what would be the situation vis-a-vis Joe Harmon as the opposition leader? Joe Harmon was appointed opposition leader by the leader of the list for the APNU AFC, Mr. David Granger. The PNC did not contest the election as PNC. They contested the election as part of a coalition. I don't know what the PNC constitution says about the leader and the role of the opposition leader in parliament, because it has always been taken for granted in the past that the leader of the PNC would be the leader of the list, and if the party goes into parliament as the opposition, that the leader will also be leader of the opposition. So there were never calls and problems as far as that is concerned. Now we have the leader of the opposition of the coalition and not the PNC, and the possibility that somebody else could be elected leader. If any of the other three is elected leader, what happens to Harmon? Does the PNC constitution allows for a recall of Harmon? From what I'm hearing, I don't think it does. But when Aubrey comes on, he'll be able to help us with that. Now, will there be any need, really, to remove Harmon? Harmon had said early on, I heard in an interview weeks ago, saying that he thinks the two positions should be merged, that the leader of the party should be the leader of the opposition in parliament. I understand he has backpedaled on that and kind of indicating that should he not win the leadership position, he cannot be removed as opposition leader. I'm advised that is his position now. So that's a thorny issue that they will have to deal with. The question of collective leadership, if depending on who wins, will that person embrace the others? Will they work together as a team? Or will there be so much bad blood coming out of this election that they wouldn't be able to work together? This is a problem. You know, the irony of all of this that we're talking about, and please advise me when Aubrey is ready. I saw he was in the studio for a bit a few minutes ago. Here is the irony. The party that is lambasted as the party that rigs the election and does not believe in democracy is the only party in the country that actually, at the party level, practices democracy in choosing its leaders. All the other parties, the leaders are appointed. This is interesting, whether it's the PPP, they appoint their leaders. The PNC is electing their leaders after a campaign. And that's the irony of Guyanese politics. The party that is accused of rigging elections in government is the party that is most democratic when it comes to choosing leaders. And that's a dilemma that political scientists will have to tease out. If a party elects its members in the way the PNC elects its members, how does that enhance the party's democratic capital when it gets into government? The logic says that the democracy at the party level should be able to spill over into the government when that party gets into government. And I've been looking at some of that literature, and that logic does not necessarily hold. Mr. Granger was elected in the PNC, but when it came to governing at the level of the APNU and the level of the coalition, he did not govern in a democratic way. He resorted to a kind of one-man-ism, to quote some of his colleagues in the PNC. So while he was democratically elected, when he got to governing, he did not translate that into governance. And that's a challenge for the new leadership that's coming in. To be fair to Mr. Granger, Mr. Hoyt and Mr. Burnham governed as one-man leaders. They did. One could argue that there was a level of super legitimacy that allowed Burnham to do that. Nobody questioned Burnham. It was in an era of the charismatic leader, you know, the Joshuas and the Moses who had brought the children out of Israel, and the Burnhams and the Jagans and the Eric Williams and the Manleys and so on were given a kind of super legitimacy. So they could get away with one-manism at the level of the party and even at the level of government as far as party members were concerned. Hoyt, surprisingly, got away with it too, but there were challenges to Hoyt. And by the time we got to Corbyn, the one-manism had really gone away. Corbyn tried to fight it, but in the end, he couldn't fight it. Granger, because the party got power through the coalition, then the added power of the presidency, which is an absolute power in many regards. It used to be more absolute, but it's still absolute. And he was able to use the power of the presidency to govern. The party, for all intents and purposes, didn't function. The APNU didn't function. The coalition didn't function. The only game in town was the government and government through cabinet. And we know that cabinet is not a place of policy making and concourse of ideas. Cabinet is really an implementing council. Decisions are taken, cabinet carry it out. But under Granger, the cabinet made policy, implemented policy, and the party was sidelined. The coalition was sidelined. That is part of the reason the PNC is now, as a party, disorganized. The WPA as a party is more than disorganized because everything occurred in cabinet. And so once power was lost last year, you know what, to turn back to the parties. And there wasn't any organized parties left. The fact of the matter is that parties contest election, and parties win election, and parties lose election. Governments do not contest election. And so when you govern without the input from the parties, if you're in a coalition, and if you're in a one-party government, you govern without input from the party, you're really looking for trouble. And so Granger was able to emerge as a one-man leader because he had government. Now, if the coalition didn't win and Mr. Granger had to govern the party outside of government, he might have operated differently, we don't know. So these are some issues that the new leader will have to deal with. The new leader will have to deal with these issues. The base has become quite radicalized over the last year, understandably so. Because where the party could not have given leadership to the base, and this is the base outside of the party, then others have stepped in, and I suppose people like myself have been part of that. In a sense, we may have contributed towards helping to push the base a little bit more to the radical side. Of course, the PPP's policies would have been the strongest factor as far as radicalizing the base. This is what happens. And so the new leader of the PNC will have to figure out what to do with that radicalized base. If you remember the discussion about whether the party is a black party and all of that, that question may be a moot question now. One of the aspects of the radicalization of the base outside the party is that the base has become much more ethnically aware, again, because of the ethnically the base, the PPP's ethnic policies have really, in a sense, made the base more ethnically aware. How does the PNC policy that it's not a black party fits in to an ethnically aware base? Those are things that a new leader will have to grapple with. If Mr. Norton is there, can we get him in, please? So there's some really hard questions for the new PNC leader. how does he deal with a rampant PPP, who does not rule in a way that it even pretends to be democratic. It just doesn't care about the opposition. It just doesn't care. What does a new PNC leader do in that regard? You know, some of my friends like Rafi Dev and so on are accusing people like me of radicalizing the base. But he's not seeing how the PPP policy is radicalizing the base. I heard Mr. Dev last night on a program say that people like myself are doing the work for the PPP because we are making it difficult for the PNC to win, in the sense, making it difficult for Indians to come over. And, you know, with all respect, I have to disagree. You know, they're blaming us, but they're not seeing how the PPP is contributing towards the radicalization of the African Guyanese electorate. Look, I have a simple, well, not simple. My thesis on elections in Guyana is this. Elections are going to be won by 1 seat here, maybe a 2 seat, nothing more than that. I don't think either of the two sides could win an election with more than 2 seats or thereabout. And so therefore the strategy is to run up the scorecard on your base. So rather than looking for 80% turnout in your base and hoping to get, can you all please mute? Can you all please mute? Can you please mute, Mr. Moderator, Mr. Operator? Mr. Moderator, can you please mute? We seem to be having some problems there. I'm sorry for this. I don't know what's happening in the background there. I don't seem to be finding the operator. Oh, I think they're finishing a meeting, and Mr. Aubrey Norton, I think it's the PNC meeting to decide on when the Congress will be. That meeting was going on. So you all are getting a little sneak peek in the people's business. That's where the noise was coming from. And as you all are noticing on the video there, the PNC executive members, they're there. So you all are getting some live. You all are getting some live there. There you go, vote Aubrey Norton for leader. They'll have to pay me. They'll have to pay me for this this free thing. I think that's looks like Valda Lawrence there. Is it? I don't know. These masks. sometimes kills me. But there is Aubrey Norton at, I think it's Congress Place. And they're finishing off that meeting. And some of his supporters, I am not, I think that looks like Valder. I may not be correct. But like I said, you all are getting some live action. You all are getting some live action here this afternoon as we await Aubrey Norton. We await Aubrey Norton to come on to Politics 101 for that interview with us. There he is. It is Congress Place. That meeting seems to have ended, and they will have to ratify the proposal that's made by Vincent Alexander, the Chief Election Officer, whether they will go with the proposal to postpone the Congress until next week, Saturday. Word coming out said that they have done so. We cannot say that for sure, but we will hear from Mr. Norton when he comes on. Again, you all are looking at a live shot at Congress Place. At Congress Place, Aubrey Norton is going to join us. I think it's Congress Place. He is going to join us. The noise that you are hearing, it was I think the members of the executive coming out of a meeting. So once Aubrey's ready, the operator will bring him on. But as I was saying, my strategy is simple. But I said it's not that simple. Is that since elections are going to be decided by a seat here, a 2-seat, then you have to run up the score in your base. Run up the score in your base. And then after you run the score up on your base, you then look to see what you can pick up from the other bases. The Amerindian base is going to become a base unto its own just now. Right now, the PPP has an advantage in the Amerindian community. But as Schuman has been saying, the PPP has not been treating the Amerindian community well. And so the Amerindian community may become very ethnically radicalized. I'm predicting that. They will become, in effect, a kind of third pole. And so as I'm saying, I think the strategy for winning is to run up the score in your base and then look to see what you can pick up, because any party will win with 1 seat or 2 seats the most. And so if the turnout in the African Guyanese community, the PNC base, the coalition base, if that turnout can go up to 85, 90, you are guaranteeing yourself. Mr. Norton is ready? Is Mr. Norton ready?
Go ahead, he's ready.
Okay. Aubrey?
I am. Yes, Dr. Hines.
How are you doing?
I didn't hear that.
How are you?
I'm fine campaigning, but fine.
All right. We've been getting some live feed there. I think it's the end of the EXCO meeting of the PNC, or was it a campaign meeting without giving out secrets?
I was at the EXCO of the party meeting earlier, but tonight I'm meeting the comrades in Tocqueville, Kayuk, Rheinveld area. So it was a campaign meeting in which I'm meeting the delegates in this area.
Okay. All right. So tell us, when is Congress? What is the final decision as to when is Congress?
Well, today we had central executive meeting of the party, and we discussed, as you are aware, the party had made a decision that Vincent Alexander will be the chief elections officer, and that he will meet with the various operatives and then report to the party about the readiness for the elections. He proceeded to report today, and he recommended that the party give itself another week and push the Congress to the 18th. And he said, once that is done, all will be satisfied and the party will have a glorious Congress. We all agreed with Comrade Alexander, who we know has integrity, who we know believes in transparency. And so his suggestion of pushing it to the 18th was agreed with, and now Congress will be held on Saturday, the 18th of December, 2021.
Congress will be held on Saturday, December the 18th, 2021. Aubrey, I normally don't like to get into your business, but I have an audience here that is pushing me. What was there were there some red flags that pushed you all to appoint Vincent Alexander?
Well, I wouldn't say red flags. The party always, when there's going to be election, seek to identify somebody who is not running, who is a friend of the party, somebody who will be impartial, to be the chief elections officer or the returning officer, depending on which concept they use. And it was unanimously agreed that Vincent will be that person. Now, what happens is a person is identified, the recommendation is then made to the central executive. When the recommendation was made last week, the central executive unanimously agreed and then passed a motion giving him the authority to review the situation and report. So I wouldn't say we resorted to him. He was the choice by consensus. He's respected in our party, and that responsibility was devolved on him.
Right. Some people were speculating that the Congress may have been pushed back to March, but now we hear it's just pushed back a week. Were people exaggerating the unpreparedness for the Congress on Saturday?
I would just say people exaggerated, full stop. Look, you live in a world in which some mischievous person just have to put some information, and it could be all around because of social media. And I think different perspectives were developed, many of them that had no root in fact, some would have had. Anyhow, the end game is that we have agreed on the 18th, and all of that, in my opinion, is passé.
Right. Aubrey Norton, you know the PNC well. I think there are few people in the party who are active in the party still, who knows the party more than you. You grew up with the party. You've served the party in various capacities. You've served as general secretary, and as general secretary, you would know the party inside out. Do you think that what is popularly felt, which is that you have an edge at this point as far as the winning that coveted position?
I didn't get a question. Go it again. Go to the question again.
I was saying, given your knowledge of the party, given your knowledge of the party, do you think that it is exaggerated by those who are saying that you're a clear front runner?
That I'm the front runner?
Yes.
Yeah, well, I don't think.
We seem to have some technical difficulties there.
Then it will be known that I was the front runner. I believe people have their interests and they try to play it down, and I didn't choose to play it up. But I think I have strong support in the party. I believe party communists believe I've always stayed in contact with them. They'll always be in contact with them. I believe party people believe I will fight for them. They believe I have the courage to take the people beyond. They believe that I am intellectually and otherwise equipped to lead the party. And so it doesn't surprise me at all that I'm the front runner. However, being the front runner wouldn't create any condition for complacency. I will redouble my efforts and ensure that I'm not only the front runner, but I become the leader of the People's National Congress reform.
Aubrey, you have a lot on your plate because if you win, you will be taking over the leadership at a very crucial point in Guyana's history. Let me just throw a couple of quick questions to you on issues that are out there. One, as far as if you were to win as leader, and Mr. Harman, who is now the opposition leader, there's been some debate that there may be a recall of Mr. Harman. What is your initial thinking on that issue?
Well, first of all, I would want to, I am not a person who believes in crossing the bridge before you meet it. For me, the immediate task is to become leader of the party. When I become leader of the party, I will listen to the popular views of the people in the party and out the party, and I will act in keeping with their wishes.
What does the PNC constitution says about the leader and the opposition leader being two different people? Is the party constitution silent on that?
I don't think the party constitution addressed the issue. In fact, it is only one time in our history we had a situation where the leader of the opposition party was different. Is when Mr. David Granger became leader while Robert Corbyn was still opposition leader. And later, those two positions were united. Let history inform us, and we will move forward at a time based on the best thing for the party and the people of Guyana.
Aubrey, you are a Burnham person, but I know you're also a student of politics. How would you frame your leadership if you were to win? What model or who would be the role model? I use that term advisedly because people have changed the meaning of that term. But who would be the role model that you would call upon intellectually and politically to lead the party?
Well, you know, I'm a kind of an eclectic kind of person. I choose the best from all. Burnham has been a mentor, a leader, and a role model. So has been Dr. Reed, who, in my opinion, was a very simple grassroots person, and I hope to emulate that. And then I came up in the Foreign Service under Rashley Jackson, who was, and I can still continue him to be, one of the best strategic thinkers the party has produced. And I hope I can utilize a lot of his thinking to think strategically and position the party where it should be. And so I would not say that X person is a role model. There are a number of persons who I respect, who I admire, and my hope is to take the positives of them, identify what are the negatives, attenuate them, accentuate the positive, and seek to become a good combination of them all that serve the people of Guyana.
Should you win, what would be your attitude to those who you would have defeated?
Those who
you would have defeated in the race?
Well, I think I have already begun to carve the attitude to the extent that I have attacked no one. That is a conscious decision because I recognize in the future I have to work with everybody in this party. Look, I have said in the Linden address that I abhor the situation wherein party comrades compete internally. Those who compete against you, you tend to isolate them and destroy them. I want to remove that culture. I want us to become inclusive. And even if people would have opposed me, I hope that we can utilize them for the skills they have. And I hope that they, on the other hand, could recognize that we are all in one party. We need to work together, and that our major enemy is the People's Progressive Party. And we need to work together to remove the People's Progressive Party and put a government that cares, a PNC as part of the APNU AFC, coalition to govern Guyana and govern it in the interests of people. I have long said that the People's Progressive Party does not serve the Indo-Guyanese community. It serves its leadership, a few elite friends and families. I also hope that we can extend and embrace those poor, disadvantaged people who the PPP purports to represent. We represent them and we build a united Guyana and move forward.
The word out there, Aubrey, is that Valda Lawrence has thrown our support behind you. Is there any truth to that?
I would say this to you. As far as I know, Comrade Valda Lawrence is acting leader, and she has chosen not to become embroiled in the election process. And I think she has done a good job of doing that. If you, however, ask me if I have widespread support in Georgetown, where she is the chairman, I would say yes.
There's not been any formal endorsement.
Not to my knowledge. Not to my knowledge, and I don't think she should be pushed to, because she has to operate as an impartial who is standing above the fray and could give leadership to the entire party.
You were endorsed by the East Coast branch of the party, and that's one of the most active, perhaps one of the largest pools of delegates will come from there. Talk to us a little bit about that, how you were able to get that support from the East Coast.
You know, I still have 7 days to go, and I don't want to tell people my strategy because there's 7 days to go. All I would say to you that I've been receiving support across the country, Region 5, Linden, etc. After the elections are over, we can talk strategy, and I can say what is it I have done and how I did it.
Let me talk to you about coattails. You have a team of people, including some young people, young man from Essequibo who I admire a lot. Do you see any indication of coattail voting as we move forward?
I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure what you mean by coattail voting.
What I mean is, sometimes people vote for a slate, or sometimes they split the slate. That is, those people who are on the slate do not
I get along. I get you. Yeah. Look, we have been mobilizing and organizing as a team. We have been canvassing as a team, and I think we have been able to sell to people that we need a team that is grassroots but has intellectual capacity. I think we have been able to sell it that we need experience and youth. I think we have been able to sell it that this team is going to care about our party and change some attitudes in the party. And in that regard, therefore, I think our comrades are buying the view that they should vote for the team. And I'm hopeful that they will vote for the team. But if perchance 1 or 2 persons in the team don't get in, I'm prepared to work with who the people elect, because this is a democratic party.
I see the young man there, Sherwin Older from the Essequibo, sitting next to you there. And he has been on my show a couple of times, and my audience is very impressed with him. I myself, as an outsider, I'm very impressed with him. Apart from Mr. Holder, there are some other young leaders that you see that you can use your leadership to mold into future leaders. And I say that.
Yes. The two persons running for vice chairman, Mr. Vince Roy Jordan is a young engineer with a lot of potential, and I believe he can be molded. We also have Miss Elizabeth Williams Niles, who has served the party. She's in her 40s, relatively young, and I think she is doing a good job. On our list, there are a number of young people, Riaz Roop Narain. There are a number of young people there that I think we can mold into a team and provide a party with a number of leaders. You have Geeta Chandan, who we have on our list. I believe she has exceptional management skills. I think she has the personality that she can relate to people, and therefore it is the kind of person you would want in the secretariat performing certain critical functions. And I believe she is also a potential for the future. So the answer is yes. We are going to put together a young team with some experience and give the party new life, new hope, and let them go out and bring more young people. And we begin the process of transforming the party and transferring power to the next generation of young people in the party.
Aubrey, you are known as someone in the PNC that gets along with people outside of the party. People in the PPP you get along with. I as a double PA person, you and I have known each other, and we can safely say we are friends outside of the politics. I know you have good relations with people in the AFC. How do you think that will help in terms of creating the kind of coalition again in need?
Well, first of all, while I believe politics is important, I've always taken the view that we are first of all human beings. And to the extent that we are humankind, we need to know at which point we stop our politics and there be a good friendship. Like you said, you and I have been friends for years. There are people in the PPP who I have related to over the years and had a good relationship. I believe that where I am positioned, I can work with people and create a strong coalition. I believe the weakness of the coalition was the infrequency of meetings, 2, the need for more discussions, 3, having had the discussions, we agree on policy positions and strategies, and then we can work together. Look, in leadership, you have to talk with people, discuss with them, and get them to buy into your vision. You buy into their vision, and you create a unified vision and move forward. I believe that we can do that. I can work with the people in the APNU, I can work with the AFC, and we can do that. However, I do not believe that we should allow anybody in a coalition to hold you to ransom. And so I intend to work with everybody in the coalition, but I intend to work to attenuate ransom politics. I don't think it helps a coalition. Coalitions must discuss, agree, and move forward.
Aubrey, you are a public intellectual, and you are set to be part of the intellectual wing of the PNC, which in recent years has diminished. In fact, you might be just a one-man army as far as the intellectual wing of the PNC is concerned. There were a whole set of those people who were with you when you were General Secretary, helping to shape that 1997, 1998, 1999 movement, putting forward proposals on policies such as power sharing. Mr. Hoyt depended on you all for that. A lot of those people are no longer active in the party. Will you bring them back and rebuild an active intellectual wing of the party?
I have to answer the question in 2 ways. First of all, I believe there are a lot of young intellectuals in the party. I have Sharon Older on my right, who I think is a young intellectual, and with more discussion and involvement, he's going to blossom. I think the same is true about Geeta Chandan. I think the same is true about Vince Roy Jordan. I think that Gary Bess has shown intellectual capacity. And I could name many. So first of all, I don't buy the theory that the intellectual wing of the party has been totally destroyed. But there are some intellectuals in the party who are outside the party. I've already begun discussions with some of them, and at least 2 of them have already said to me, once I become leader of the party, they will be back, and they have begun to work on ideas and proposals while I wouldn't call them their names, I would like them to be the algebraic X. Could say to you that I've begun the process of working with them to ensure that they return and to link them to this new young core of intellectuals inside the party. But I also want to make it clear that I believe that the party needs fine intellectuals, but it also needs that link with the ground. And so one of the focuses will be to focus on the intellectuals that have links to the ground so that we could both intellectualize and be in contact with our people. I did say on a number of occasions, my intention is to create a grassroots party that is in touch with the people. And this way we are heading.
Whether you like it or not, you really represent a part of the party that is one may call the radical wing of the PNC. In our Caribbean, members of that radical wing has seldom been given a shot at the top position in the party. And should you be elected, you will really be making history in that someone from that radical wing of the party would have been elected as the leader. I'm not talking here. One may make reference to Mr. Corbyn, but I don't consider him to have been part of the radical wing. He was part of the establishment of the party, in my view. But you are, in the estimation of the larger public, part of that radical wing that came up in the YSM, came in Y2, and that is part of the larger Caribbean and Guyanese politics. If you agree with me, is it a numbing feeling that we have arrived at that point in the PNC and Guyana?
Well, you know, the concept radical could be a very nebulous concept that you can't pick up. And I've heard people say I'm radical, but I don't know what they mean. If they mean that I will stand up for my people, I wouldn't take nonsense, I will be courageous, then I have no problem accepting the nomenclature. But if they mean that you are irrational, illogical, then I will have problems with that. I see myself as a person who is rational, who seeks to think logically, but at the same time, won't allow people to push the fingers in my eyes or the people I represent eyes. And so I will leave you to categorize, but I will merely say to you, those are the characterizing features of it, and I'm comfortable with those features.
Transformational leader, as opposed to merely the kind of papering over reformist. Transformational. Are you more transformational than reformist, you would say?
I would say to you that let us wait and see what happens, and then we decide based on the work done.
Based on the work done. Martin, on the eve of what could be a historic election and to the highest spot in the PNC, one of the two most important leaders in the country, given our politics. Any last thoughts that you want to leave with the audience, Aubrey?
I didn't get that question.
Any final
thoughts? I didn't get that question.
Any final thoughts?
Oh, my final thoughts. Just to say, I'm very thankful for the support from the members of the party. I'm very thankful that the religious community has been meeting out to me and have been talking to me about how we move forward vis-a-vis religion. I'm very happy that I can relate to the broad base of our common, ordinary people in the party, as well as to the intellectuals in the party. It is my sincere hope that we don't become complacent, we focus, intensify our efforts, and come Saturday, the 18th of December, I look forward to becoming leader of the very powerful People's National Congress reform, which I believe will position itself to return to power as part of the coalition in the quickest time possible.
Thank you very much, Brother Aubrey. And you have an extra week to campaign. I assume that you're going to use it to your great advantage. And perhaps next week, on the eve of the Congress, if you have the time, we can have you back for a little time to close out this deal before Congress.
Thanks for having me. I note your invitation, and I will do everything to be able to accept it.
Thank you.
I want to have a good evening to you and your viewing audience.
Wonderful. And if Sherwin wants to have a few words, Sherwin.
Hey, good night, Dr. Hines.
How are you doing, my brother?
I'm doing well. I'm busy on the campaign trail.
Busy on the campaign trail. Very good. How is it looking from your standpoint?
I think we're well positioned to win it, but we won't be complacent. You know, it's until you count those votes that is when you can declare victory. So we wouldn't be complacent. We're still on the ground. We have another week, so we'll put in the groundwork.
And you are running for the position of chairman, and I think vice chairman, right?
Well, it's chairman. In our party, it's a democratic party, and persons can nominate you for any position. But I'm running for chairman of the party.
And as you have gone through the campaign trail, are there one or two things that you've learned? Something that you didn't know about politics, or you knew a little about politics, but the campaign has helped to enlarge?
I can tell you one thing. I've traveled to the 10 administrative regions, and I've met people with different culture, different backgrounds, party comrades, that is. So there's much to learn there. The strategies in different regions, the way how you could campaign, for example, in Georgetown, the strategy in, let's say, Letem or in the Rupunoni would be different. So I'm learning, I'm thankful to be given this opportunity. I'm a fast learner, and you know, I think it adds to me my political knowledge and my ability to lead.
And I know you're sitting next to Aubrey, and you know you as young people brought up in homes, we sometimes are hesitant to say good things in front of people. But forget that Aubrey's here. What is it? What is it? What are the qualities in Aubrey Norton? What are the leadership qualities that have drawn you to support him?
I think the greatest thing with Aubrey Norton is that, or his ability to connect with people on the ground. And that is my style also, Dr. Hines. So I think that is why I admire him. Of course, he's a political scientist. He has a wealth of political knowledge. I admire him for the fearless person he is. I think, frankly speaking, he's the only one that in this time that will stand up to the PPP and fight that fight to reposition us to win the next election.
And as you look forward as a young man, you look at Guyana, an oil-rich nation in the making, a Guyana with tremendous potential, but also a Guyana with some problems that we have to work out. How does Mr. Norton fit into your vision of what a Guyana should be for your generation?
Aubrey Norton is a role model. He might be 64, but I believe he can relate even to young people and people of my time. Dr. Hines, my vision for this country, and even before oil, before we've gotten oil, my vision for this country is one where all are treated equally and all are the resources of our country are distributed in a fair and equitable manner. So that is my broad vision. I see Aubrey sharing that vision. I see him fighting for the poor and the vulnerable. And so it goes in line with my vision. And I think that he could offer although he's 64, I think he can relate to the young people. He can relate to what is happening on the ground at this time. And so he would serve well as leader, and I can learn much from him.
Thank you very much. And you're still on the campaign trail, so here's your chance to make a final pitch.
Well, I would want to say to our supporters and specifically the delegates that these elections are bigger than bigger than us, the delegates, bigger than you, the delegates. And you're representing over 200,000 plus persons that would have supported our party and the coalition. And so you must make the right choice. We know where we are, we know the position that we're in, that we found ourselves in, but I don't want you to give up hope. I think there's much hope in this Congress, and there's much hope in an Aubrey Norton and team leading the PNC, transforming the PNC and repositioning it to win back government.
Thank you, young Sharwin Holder, Member of Parliament and a candidate for chairman of the PNC. Good luck. Good luck. And you're a friend of this program, so we are open to you anytime you have a direct line to me. So we know we still have a week to go, but this program is open to you. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you. Thanks to you. Thanks to you, Dr. Hines, and your viewing audience.
Thank you. Thank you. Young Sharwin Holder there, and before him, Aubrey Norton. We are going to open the phones. We're going to open the phones. And I just want us to comment on the PNC race. And don't worry, the other issues tonight, right? We talked about the PNC race, in particular, Aubrey Norton's candidacy. The PNC race, Aubrey Norton's candidacy. Call with your, I assume there might be more comments than questions. And try to be as brief as you can so we can get in as many calls as we can. Aubrey Norton there, while we're waiting for the number to be put up, Aubrey Norton there graciously taking the time actually on the campaign trail to speak to us. And it must say something about the importance that he has accorded those of us who are outside of the party. Some of us may be party supporters. Some of us may not be party supporters, but we're opposition supporters. And that Aubrey has been busy and he has taken the time. He has taken the time. You all saw it there on the screen. Please put up the number for people to call, Mr. Operator. You all have seen it. It came out of a meeting, sat at that desk, and pivots from that to our program. There is something about humility and leadership. You know, we've never had to run behind Aubrey Norton to get him to come on to speak to you, speak to the people. And we've asked him questions, and he has been forthright in his answers. And I want to say that that's a very important quality. We've reached out, and we will continue to reach out in the coming week to the other contestants in the race and to get them to come here to speak to you all. It's not just about speaking to me, but it's about speaking to the audience. Please, Mr. Operator, we are waiting for the number in which persons can call in. It's about coming out here and speaking to the base and speaking to people who may not be part of the party as such, but who are interested in the politics that's going on here in the PNC. Aubrey Norton running for leader, the other candidates are Richard Van West Charles, who was also been quite forthcoming when we have asked him to come on. Unfortunately, this evening we couldn't get him on. Mr. Basil Williams belatedly came on. We're still waiting to be graced by my friend Joe Harmon. And I can say Joe is a friend. Joe is a friend, but he has not seen it fit to grace us here. I don't know what the problem is. I don't know what the problem is. Mr. Hines, you need a flag of Guyana in the background of your studio. Thank you, sir. All right, I'll make sure I see to that. I like Aubrey Norton's wisdom. Big up, Aubrey. The number to call, 592-603-0010. Please call in. We have a few minutes, and we want to address the issue of the PNC's Congress and Aubrey Norton's candidacy. Let's keep it to that. And let's keep it to that. And let's try to be brief so we can get in as many calls as we can in the few minutes we have left. We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we'll take your calls.
Please help keep Politics 101 on social media and broadcast television. If you are in North America, please donate via Cash App or PayPal.
If you are in Guyana and the Caribbean and don't have access to Cash App and PayPal, email your pledge to dhines6106@aol.com and we will direct you how to get your donation to us. Thank you in advance for your donation.
And welcome back to Politics 101. The number to call is 603-0010. Call and let's hear your comments. Or if you have a question on the Congress. Congress has been pushed back. PNC Congress has been pushed back to next week, Saturday. A one week extension. And they wanted to make sure that all the logistics have been put in place, and I'm sure the candidates welcome that 1 week extension. Some people were concerned that the momentum would have dipped had the Congress been postponed beyond Christmas, and that has not happened. So Congress is on Saturday, and we'll wait for another week to see what that outcome is. And in the meantime, those of you who are favoring candidates, of course, are free to campaign for your candidates. Doesn't look as though any calls are coming through. So we'll probably close out for tonight. It's Thursday, and we'll be back next week, Tuesday. Mr. Rickford Burke is replying to Mr. Rickford Burke is replying to Christopher Ram, his comments on the program here on Tuesday night. And so we'll have Christopher Ram and Rickford Burke on together on Tuesday night. Tomorrow, they're making a decision on who's going to be the chief elections officer. our intelligence tells us that Mr. Arrow is a superior candidate. He has great knowledge of the electoral process, having run that process in Jamaica. He is intellectually superior to Mr. Vishnu Prasad, and our understanding. I've had a chance to look at the CVs of the two gentlemen, and I am convinced that Mr. Arrow is the superior candidate. But we'll see what will happen tomorrow. We'll see what will happen tomorrow. We'll see what will happen tomorrow, and we'll see what will happen tomorrow. So on Tuesday, I will have somebody from the Elections Commission, Vincent Alexander, most likely. I was trying to get him this evening to give us a kind of sneak peek before the decision tomorrow. Look, it will come down to this. I think the three opposition commissioners are going to go for Harrow. The three government commissioners are going to go for Vishnu Prasad. And it will come down to the casting vote of the chairperson. That is what it will come down. That is what I'm predicting. I may be wrong. I may be wrong. I may be wrong, and I hope I'm wrong. But that's how I see it. That's how I see it. So there we have it. We will have that announcement or that vote tomorrow. I don't know if they will announce right away, but we will know. And Vincent Alexander will be here. He will be here next week, Tuesday. And then Aubrey has promised on Thursday, before the Congress, to drop by. I'm going to extend the invitation to all the other candidates to drop by, and we will see whether they will drop by and keep us in the loop. So until next week, we're going to close out now and have a good weekend. I know everybody was anxious because this weekend was supposed to be the Congress. It's not. And so it may not be such an intense weekend, but like I said, tomorrow they're making that decision on the chief elections officer. So it may be another intense weekend. Whatever it is, we are going to cover it here on Politics 101. So until then, David Hines saying good night and goodbye for now.
Please help keep Politics 101 on social media and broadcast television. If you are in North America, please donate via Cash App or PayPal.
If you are in Guyana and the Caribbean and don't have access to Cash App and PayPal, email your pledge to dhines6106@aol.com and we will direct you how to get your donation to us. Thank you in advance for your donation.